Really, really amazing movie, and obviously, we can only talk about certain things and not others. So, as I'm sure you've been told and aware, um, this is a kind of a two-hander. It's basically you and Kyle. I mean, you have other actors in it, but I mean, it's the two of you, like every scene
Yeah.
almost.
Yeah.
How you kind of told about it by JT, and yeah, how'd you find out about it?
I was sent the script. My agent actually knows JT, and so she called me and she was like, "I have this amazing script that I think you'd be perfect for, and I want you to read it." And she sent it to me that day. I read it that day. I called her back immediately, and I was like, "You're right. I have to do this movie. How do I get this movie?" And I had a conversation with JT, and then there was a period of waiting where we were kind of just seeing how it was going to shake out, and then I got to do it, and then I had a lot more conversations with JT.
Hmm. Do you know if Kyle had already been cast at that point,
No,
or
I was cast first,
oh, gotcha, okay.
and Kyle came on. I don't know, a few weeks after, I think.
I gotcha. Now it's really interesting because I mean, there's it's so much a two-hander. It's the two of you.
Yeah.
So did JT want to do a lot of rehearsal or chemistry reading, or is it part of what works is the awkwardness between the two of you that's necessary? That you didn't want to do that too much.
Yeah, we didn't do any chemistry reads. We just both were
Oh, okay.
cast independently. And we had about a week before we started shooting. And in that week, Kyle and I we hung out a lot. We went to dinner, we walked around Portland. I knew that for me to feel comfortable going into shooting this movie, I wanted to have a relationship outside of shooting the movie. And so it was just a lot of like getting to know you, getting to have a foundation of like trust and respect for each other. And luckily, Kyle's an amazing person and an amazing actor, so it was easy because we didn't have that much time. But yeah, I mean, for me, it's just a lot about trust and respect.
Yeah, it's interesting because some filmmakers would not want you two together at all, except when you're filming or go or
Yeah,
on
but
set. It's
that's kind of impractical because you shoot a lot of things out of order and you're not shooting the beginning of the movie first.
sure.
So you obviously are starting with things where your characters have already been together for, X amount of time. So you usually need to have some sort of foundation there.
When you first read the script, did it have the similar effect as the movie has on people, where
Yeah.
it was like every page was like, oh my God, like because I know I talked to JT earlier and he said that he wrote it in order, so it was in
Yeah.
order like the way that.
Yeah. Well, the scripts that he sent out were as the movie is. The
Okay.
script on the page is exactly the movie that you see. And reading that script, I mean, I was struck by its clarity, its specificity, and how much it was entirely sure of what it was doing. And I think that that's a really rare set of things for a script to have. I mean, I've certainly never read a script that I had as strong a reaction to as I did to reading Strange Darling. And that's just like a total testament to JT's abilities and his vision for this movie, which was just, beyond.
And there's different. I mean, there's action scenes. There's very intimate, you know, two-handed with the tuna car. I mean,
Yeah.
was any kind of like discussion about the order to shoot things in, or was it just kind of like normal, like location? That's where we have location this day.
Yeah, I think
Do
it
it.
was mostly location. I think to most filmmakers' disappointment, I think you kind of realize that you may want to shoot something in some specific order, but usually you're kind of just shooting in whatever order you have the locations you want to use.
Yeah, I mean, some filmmakers like M. Night Shyamalan, they have the luxury where they can,
Yeah,
get a stadium for 3 months and shoot however he
exactly.
wants. Which is like, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Can you talk about how costumes and like things like the wig kind of like
yeah,
inform the character? Because I mean, like your character changes so
totally.
much, and I don't want
Yeah.
to obviously spoil it, but your character changes from almost from scene to scene.
Yeah, the lady has a lot of looks going on. That's for sure. I mean, I think the biggest change for me was JT very early on. He was like, "I want you to bleach your hair and I want you to cut it off," and I was like, and then I did. I bleached my hair and I cut it off, and that's my hair in the movie. And that for me was a huge physical transformation that I was then living with for the duration of the shoot and months after. Um, and that was a really helpful kind of because as an actor you find things to kind of hold on to that ground you in whatever you're trying to create, and having that sort of that huge of a physical transformation that you're kind of confronted with in the mirror every day was certainly really helpful and inspiring in terms of the other choices that I made for the lady, obviously with JT. But there's also, I mean, there's not a lot of, I think there's very specific costumes and very specific pieces. And there's not a lot of them. So every single thing was picked with just precision. And we had an amazing costume designer. And with him and with JT, it was kind of always about like, what is the most clear and succinct way of telling this story through this piece of clothing. And so those were really interesting and very cool conversations that I loved having.
Oh, great. I was curious about like the scene in the car though. Just it was it very claustrophobic because I mean it was you and Kyle, but apparently they shot in 35, so it was just like four of you in a car, or was that just an illusion? You actually shot on
Yeah.
set. Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm trying to think of, I mean, we did a lot of French overs in that scene. So there were cameras kind of in the back seat shooting towards the front. And then sometimes there were cameras outside of the car shooting in for the front coverage. But I mean, the truck is a pretty big truck. So as far as shooting in a car goes, I've definitely shot in smaller cars.